Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continuing with Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 19. Asyanu Bhavam Bhagavan. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada the sage among the demigods, and Kapila the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. Purport. Pure devotees of the Lord are all bhavas, or persons who know the glories of the Lord in different transcendental loving services. As the Lord has innumerable expansions of his plenary form, there are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord who are engaged in the exchange of service of different humors. Ordinarily, there are 12 great devotees of the Lord, namely Brahma, Narada, Shiva, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahlada, Bhishma, Janaka, Shukadev Goswami, Bali Maharaj, and Yamaraj. Bhishma Dev, although one of them has mentioned only 3 important names of the 12 who know the glories of the Lord, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the great acharyas in the modern age, explains that Anubhava, or the glory of the Lord, is first appreciated by the devotee in ecstasy, manifesting the symptoms of perspiring, trembling, weeping, bodily eruptions, etc., which are further enhanced by steady understanding of the glories of the Lord. Such different understandings of bhavas are exchanged between Yashoda and the Lord, parentheses, binding the Lord by ropes, and in the chariot, driving by the Lord in the exchange of love with Arjuna. These glories of the Lord are exhibited in his being subordinated before his devotees, and that is another feature of the glories of the Lord. Shukadev Goswami and the Kumaras, although situated in the transcendental position, became converted by another feature of bhava and turned into pure devotees of the Lord. Tribulations imposed upon the devotees by the Lord constitute another exchange of transcendental bhavas between the Lord and the devotees. The Lord says, quote, I put my devotee into difficulty, and thus the devotee becomes more purified in exchanging transcendental bhava with me, unquote. Placing the devotee into material troubles necessitates delivering him from the illusory material relations. The material relations are based on reciprocation of material enjoyment, which depends mainly on material resources. Therefore, when material resources are withdrawn by the Lord, the devotee is cent% attracted toward the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Thus, the Lord snatches the fallen soul from the mire of material existence. Tribulations offered by the Lord to his devotee are different from the tribulations resulting from vicious action. All these glories of the Lord are especially known to the great Mahajans, like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Kapila, Kumara, and Bhishma, as mentioned above, and one is able to grasp it by their grace. Well, one of the favorite topics of devotees is the how-to. Like yesterday evening, how-to. You know, there was a tribulation in yesterday evening's discussion of Krishna being put in a situation by his own arrangements where he was misunderstood, and worse than misunderstood, he was criticized. And it happened twice. So that's a, for worldly people, that's a tribulation. Now, in the case of Yudhisthira, it's his own virtue that serves as a tribulation, because the transcendental position of Yudhisthira is that Krishna wanted something. And that Krishna wanted something clashed, rubbed against, but clashed with his sensibilities. He didn't want. Now, he didn't want for a different reason than Arjuna's didn't want. and both underwent tribulation. Arjun's was in Bhagavad Gita. This one is in chapter 19 of Canto 1. Chapter 9 of Canto 1. Where prior to the battle, Yudhisthira was similar to Arjuna. Let them have the kingdom. He's doing a good job. He's a good organizer. But that's not what Krishna wanted. He doesn't want just a good organizer. He was a good organizer. Materialists can be good organizers. We have experience in modern history of materialists can be good organizers. But that's not what Krishna wants. And in this particular case, because Krishna came into the world to relieve the burden of such persons, demoniac personalities, asuras, then he wanted to relieve the world of Duryodhana, not to leave the world in the hands of Duryodhana. That would have been contrary to the Lord's purpose of appearance. And who did he give the service to? To the Pandavas. Of course, Arjuna. But we don't hear so much about the fighting prowess of Yudhisthira. We hear of the elder and statesman-like vision of Yudhisthira, but Yudhisthira was on the battle. In any case, he didn't want, but Krishna wanted. And so, various things happened. Krishna went on a peace mission that was rejected. So his position, Duryodhana's position, is there must be war. He had decided there must be war. So Arjuna was like, let them have the kingdom. Their having the kingdom, that kind of detachment, wasn't what Krishna wanted, because Krishna wanted a virtuous person in charge of the world before he left the world. And it wasn't okay. Just be detached and let a non-virtuous, a wicked person, an asuric person rule the world. Wasn't okay from Krishna's perspective. So the detachment of Yudhisthira was appropriate until it became very clear that Krishna wanted. So now after the war, that's where this scene is, he's feeling really badly that so many people were killed at my sake so that I could sit on the throne. Shame on me. So many, consequences, without listing them, are all on my head because I'm bad. But it wasn't because he was bad. He was acting as an instrument of Krishna, but he forgot that instrument of Krishna position. When we forget the instrument of Krishna position, plus you're Krishna's devotee, equals tribulation. So supposing you don't forget your position, and then you don't have tribulation. Now, I was just listening this morning. Prabhupada was in Melbourne, 1972, and he was discussing a verse from chapter 3, Bhagavad Gita, and he was speaking about those who are in material consciousness have stress. Now, did Prabhupada have stress? Do pure devotees have stress? Well, they can see obstacles and they can see everything, but they don't have worldly stress. They have otherworldly stress, how to fulfill the mission, and knowing that Krishna will help them, etc. So there's stress, but it's good stress. It's transcendental stress, knowing that Krishna will help them through. The other kind, the material kind, the reference that Prabhupada was making was to Prahlad Maharaj, responding to Hiranyakashipu, what's the best thing that you've learned? And the best thing that he says, the best thing he's learned, samudvigna dhyat. The persons who are absorbed, asat grahat. Their griha is asat. The place where they live, consciousness-wise, is asat. And those who live in asat griha, in material consciousness, they're filled with distress. And then the second half of that same verse, Prahlad then says, therefore that person should leave. Now he says, go to the forest, and Prabhupada translates it as go to Vrindavan and immerse oneself in Sat. So if you can't, if circumstances are that you can't go to Vrindavan, you go to Krishna in consciousness and immerse oneself. Strive to immerse oneself in Krishna through sound. It was a nice class. Someone said, wait a minute. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when there's discrepancy, I come in my personal form. So where's the personal form? Prabhupada said, in the name. But where's the personal form? And Prabhupada said, it takes a little intelligence to understand the name has form. And one who speaks the glories of the name is also representative of the Supreme Person. So the representative of the Supreme Person can manifest the Supreme Person through sound. And that's what the Srimad Bhagavatam is. That's what the Srimad Bhagavatam is. After Krishna departs, Krishna appears in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, supposing one doesn't have that realization, that's okay. The words of the scriptures say they're non-different. The form of the Lord and the sound of Srimad Bhagavatam are non-different. It's the spiritual form. And those who regularly, with faith, hear Srimad Bhagavatam and hear the holy name, that means you chant and you hear both. That's the stress that comes from forgetfulness of relationship with Krishna is gone, and then comes another kind, the transcendental kind. The transcendental kind, for example, in the same lecture Prabhupada was explaining, I've traveled around the world so many times. He was saying in this lecture, twice every year, at an old age, taking on difficulty. But for what reason? To deliver this message. So it's the instrument. Now, it's not that therefore we have to travel around the world twice a year and et cetera, but the principle of bearing Krishna's message, that is, receiving it and giving it. That's our shelter. That's the shelter of being freed from the material distress and forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna. Now, supposing we're not there yet, we're not pure devotees, fully realized, etc., then what's our position? We're neither here nor there. But the process of bhakti, faithfully executed, carries one to that destination. For one who strives by right means, success is guaranteed. The success is in the striving, not necessarily only when you reach the destination. I'll say it again. Success is in the striving, not only when the bell rings. Okay, now I'm beyond material conceptions and beyond material conditioning, and I'm with Krishna in the spiritual world, Haribol. Now, certainly that's the mature stage, back home, back to Godhead, but the striving is the success. because one who strives by right means, success is assured. That's Krishna's word. One who has faith, in Krishna's words, strives by right means, with faith, in Krishna's words. And there's reciprocation. And the reciprocation may be gentle and gradual. Sometimes the reciprocation is very swift and jolting. That's what's being described here in this purport. Very nice purport, isn't it? The verse that we just read, 19, speaks of the perfected souls, starting with Lord Shiva, Narada, Kapila, the perfected souls in the sense of Mahajans, great souls. And there's 12. 3 are mentioned. One of them, the speaker, is one of the 12. But the phrase that's getting the attention in the purport is this very first word, anubhavam. Asyanubhavam. Asyanubhavam. Asya means of him, and anubhavam has different meanings. In the word for word, it's glories, and in the purport, it's the devotee. I'll read. Pure devotees of the Lord are all bhavas, or persons who know the glories of the Lord in different transcendental loving services. So the bhava is what they feel, but the bhava is who they are because they're feeling. And because of that connection, the devotee has a connection. Elevated devotees have a connection that produce bhavas, and through those ecstasies, they can then understand the glories of the Lord better than we can. We don't have that elevated stage. But if we're striving by right means, then gradually, like the rising of the sun in the morning, the darkness is dispelled, and gradually, the glories of the Lord become revealed, like by reading Srimad Bhagavatam gradually, or striving to chant with attention. Now, there's phrases out there. I'm thinking yesterday evening after the class, one young man came and, I'm practicing mindfulness, but I'm not there yet. What should I do? Keep practicing. And practice with faith. One who strives by right means. That right means is with faith, and you simply don't imitate, but you follow. And you continue hearing, etc., and applying and associating and striving continuously. Not interrupted striving it produces sporadic results. So how to get to the stage where you're not sporadically striving, but consistently striving? The answer to that one is just by continuously striving. Someone asked Prabhupada, how do you become sincere? And his answer, become sincere. And everybody knows what sincere is. And here's what sincere is. And you strive to become sincere, you become sincere by striving to become sincere. And by associating with those that are sincere. Associate with those who are continuously striving. And that becomes your quality by that association, assuming your heart is open and you're receiving that quality which is their quality. That's what sadhusanga is. So even if you're not there yet, you're not fully mindful of every syllable, of every mantra, and then the next one, and then the next one. You continue to strive and continue to strive. And continue to strive under the instructions of the scripture to do so, and the spiritual authorities to do so. And you continue and you continue. that sadhu sangha, in the mood of bhajana kriya, and gradually, however long gradually is. A lot depends on how covered we are. A lot also depends on how consistent we are in this striving by right means. That's up to us. The resources are not unavailable. The resources are available. So back to this word bhava. Bhava means ecstasy. Bhava means glories. And bhava means the devotee who knows the glories. Then Prabhupada goes that the Lord has so many forms, and also he has so many forms of devotees. And then the Mahajans are listed. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the great acharyas, explains that Anubhava, or the glory of the Lord, is first appreciated by the devotee in ecstasy. And thus bhava means the ecstasy, and bhava also means the devotee who has realized the glories, which are further enhanced by steady understanding of the glories. So that means you continue to hear as you're also continuing to realize and submit to the loving service. Such different understandings of bhavas, so now there's 3 listed, between Krishna and Yasoda, and between Krishna and Arjuna. There is varieties of Yasoda's bhava, or understanding of Krishna's glories, and Arjuna's understanding of Krishna's glories. That's the first. These glories of the Lord are exhibited in his being subordinated before his devotees. And that is another feature of the glories of the Lord. Next, Shukadeva Goswami and the Kumaras, although situated in the transcendental position, became converted by another feature of bhava. That's number 2. They went from realization of Brahman. They weren't impersonalists. They just had realization of Brahman, and by association, etc., by contact with the Lord himself, or devotees who have love for the Lord himself, another bhava category. Then the Lord subordinating himself to Arjuna and Mother Yasoda, it's another category of bhava, or ecstasy's understanding, of entitling one to understand the glories. Then there's the third, the tribulations category. That's us. Tribulations imposed upon the devotees by the Lord constitute another exchange of transcendental bhava between the Lord and the devotees. Well, who likes to call tribulations bhavas? But properly orienting ourselves to what you might call misfortune, properly orienting yourself towards misfortune, or like last night, being falsely accused of something, or whatever, being misunderstood, or someone dealing with you harshly, or all those things that we were discussing yesterday. That's a tribulation, and there's a purpose. One of the purposes, Prabhupada explains, that happiness often depends upon resources, and Krishna takes the resources instead as the opposite. Then that's a tribulation. It's a hardship, and it hurts sometimes. But that's to take away false shelters. Then Krishna extends his very loving, large, easily accessible lotus feet. And if one takes the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, when resources that bring material happiness are withdrawn, and instead is the opposite, then that's another bhava, or another ecstasy, another opportunity for us to understand the glories of the Lord. So the context, again, it's Bhishma pacifying Yudhisthira. He hits a home run. Bhishma understands the heart of Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira is feeling really badly about the massacre, the Kurukshetra battle consequences, forgetting what the purpose of the Lord was, and now he's pointing to a particular purpose of the Lord, was to take away the obstacle of Yudhisthira thinking I'm a virtuous person. That doesn't mean don't be a virtuous person, but thinking of yourself in those terms, minus the transcendental feature of how does a virtuous person act when the Lord says do this, or the Lord says do that. It very clearly circles back to what was one of the earlier verses. When the Pandavas went forward, it was very clear this is what the Lord wants. We don't hear about the other three, but we hear about both Yudhisthira and Arjuna having, memory lapse. This is what Krishna wants. And thinking in terms of other criterion than what Krishna wants. Now, it's a tough pill. Prabhupada faced it square, that violence is needed in some cases. The Kshatriya's position, some cases, it's not, wanton or undirected, but under the jurisdiction of transcendental position, then violence may sometimes, so violence is just like, okay, open the door for violence. They're different, according to Vedic codes, different, just like Krishna did on behalf of the Pandavas, tried to make so many things to try to make a settlement, including giving the kingdom to the bad guy. Krishna didn't want that, but he put that one out, and the answer was no. And he knew before he went that was the answer. Not only that was the answer, he wanted to kill Krishna. That was really, he wanted to kill the Pandavas, and he wanted to kill Krishna, thinking that if Krishna was killed, then the Pandavas would become weak. His enmity was toward the devotees, which means enmity towards Krishna. So we don't develop enmity. Don't allow that in the heart. Even if somebody does something mean, we don't develop enmity. Now, that's easy to say because the material standard is friend-enemy. I mean, it's the Bhagavatam is filled with it. With Dhruva, give up this friend-enemy thing. 3 times. It's not fitting. He got on the other side of it because of the mercy of Narada and his Tivra Bhakti. Because Bhakti, when done properly, under proper guidance, then even bad motives can be removed. Bad feelings can be removed. When Dhruva went back to the palace, he didn't hold bad feelings. They were gone. It wasn't like lingering in the back of his mind. This Suruchi. He didn't hold that. Bhakti has the power to remove all that stuff. And adjustments don't. Mode of goodness doesn't. It's not sufficient. It's a direction to move in, but it's not sufficient. Bhakti has the power. Later, when Dhruva lost it because his brother was killed, he got the same message. No, there was, you can say, there was a relapse, or he was just overwhelmed momentarily. Sudurachar behavior was manifest by such an exalted person that he was already granted before he became king, that he would reside and preside. He was presiding person in the Lord's planet, Dhruvaloka. Whew. Even for such a person, there was a lapse, but the lapse was quickly corrected, very quickly corrected, just by sound. Just by sound, immediately corrected. Nice lessons in the Bhagavatam about how to move through the forest of material enjoyment, or the world of darkness and forgetfulness and ignorance. And if we don't take hold of that sound vibration, we're tossed around like a cork on the sea, and the waves moving, the cork floating around, and sometimes, and it can go on endlessly, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And who can say how many lifetimes we've been at this? Who can say? Who knows? We can, a scripturally educated guest, and say we've been at this for some time. And here we are with, the golden opportunity, and we have to take the golden opportunity. The shelter is there, very, very sweet instructions, and what to speak of these really wonderful purports. Of course, Prabhupada is drawing upon predecessor acharyas. Fine. So to get the deeper understanding, refined understanding of what Bhishma Deva is conveying, the purports are so helpful. You can say essential. But the potency is there to lift us out of the cycle of birth and death and place us in Krishna's association once again. So let's see if there's some discussion. Bhagavatam is wonderful.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. My conscience was going down, like facing the tribulations one after the another. When you face like that, and all these classes, like the very first class of Bhagavatam started with the tribulations. So I was like, until to today, like it ends with that too. All the instructions you gave, even in the evening classes, in the morning classes, and this, as you said, it's nicely explained in the purport. It's helped me to bring my conscious back, as you said, to the higher conscious level. With your all the instructions you clearly explained, helped me a lot. My question is, so in this it says sometimes offered by the Lord, to tribulations offered by the Lord to his devotees are different from the tribulations resulting from the vicious action. So how to make that the difference when we face the tribulations from three different miseries, like Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik. So sometimes I experience that one after another. For quite certain period of time, I'm experiencing in a different level. So how to, I'm trying to connect, as you said, with the Krishna conscious, and focusing on my duties, what pleases to Guru and Krishna. But still, I'm thinking is because of my karma, I have to face all this, get rid of that. That is going in my mind in one side. The other side is how to make this difference of what it says in the purport. Thank you, Maharaj.
I got all the background, but I don't get the punchline. What? Just say succinctly, please.
Okay. My question is, as it said in the purport, to make the difference between it's because of my vicious action of my this life or past life, or it's because of the I know I'm not the pure devotee to experience that transcendental thing.
Keep it simple. Make your question clear so I can respond to your question.
So when I face that type of tribulations, what is my
So how do I discern, is it this or that?
Yeah.
My vicious actions in the past or Krishna's purification?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Yes, Maharaj.
The bhakti principle is variable, that is to say, when our attention is turned towards Krishna, the internal potency is acting. When our attention is turned away from Krishna, the external potency is acting. And our attention can vacillate. And so the energies under which we're moving may vacillate, especially in the intermediate stage of bhakti. Having said that, for those in the intermediate stage, what's Krishna looking to? He's looking to see, are we having regard for him, or are we turning our attention away from him? And according to, he doesn't interfere. That's a free will choice from our side. And depending on how we're exercising our free will, we're placed in the care of this energy or that energy. And it can vacillate. In generally speaking, sadhakas in the intermediate stage of sadhana, or the madhyama stage of bhakti, Krishna's care is extended to his madhyama bhaktas because, like the example of a parent towards a dependent child, even if the child misbehaves, the parent doesn't disregard the misbehaving child. Their affection for the child remains. Even when the child is misbehaving. It doesn't change the position of the parent to wish that the child overcomes or grows out of or becomes restored to their proper regard for life and the values of life and the sources that give value to life. The parent, a loving parent, will continue to have those feelings, loving feelings. Therefore, for us, we're in the care of the internal potency. At the same time, Krishna doesn't forget. He forgives, but if we turn our attention away, then he doesn't interfere with our capacity to turn our attention away. So let the provided, even if one becomes, let's say, someone makes a big offense, or someone says, I quit, I'm leaving Krishna, I'm going to go back into the material world, forget this. No, that's not our position as sadhakas. But supposing someone does that, Krishna still doesn't forget. It's in the Bhagavatam, and that's our teaching. He won't forget. He won't interfere, but he won't forget. So you're back to your question. Due to our vicious activity, the consequence of vicious activity is karma. And we know that karma is dissolved by bhakti. Say it the other way. Bhakti has the power to dissolve karma. So karma is not the operating principle in your life. What's the operating principle? The purification. That's the philosophical understanding. Now, it's not bad because elevated Vaishnavas will also speak of their past activities. I'm in this misfortunate situation due to volumes of past bad activities. And elevated Vaishnavas who know that bhakti dissolves karma may speak like that from their position of humility, not from the position of ignorance, from the position of humility, and praying for the Lord to pick them up. He's picking them up, but it's that sense of subordination and submission, the Sharanagati principle, that is strengthened by the circumstance that the devotee is in. Even if they're not undergoing tribulation, exalted devotees always feel in that. So it's part of their exalted nest that they're feeling humility. For you, back to your question, it's purification. The tribulations are purification, provided you don't check out. Take it when tribulation comes. This is Krishna's kindness. How? He's helping me to take exclusive shelter of him. He's giving me a token reminder, not karma, token reminder of my past misdeeds. Token reminder. But it's direct, it's not through the external energy, it's through the internal energy because of that act of submission unto Krishna, and Krishna is accepting you in that way. So it's the tribulation is purification. No harm in thinking my past vicious activities. Fact is, it's Krishna's purification. Now, it's how you process it is one thing, but the end result is purification, not just, getting slapped around by the material energy because of vicious activities. It's different. It's purification. Even when it comes one thing after the next thing after the next thing. In the Adhyatmika, Adhidhaivika, Adhibodhika. I know a number of devotees that are going through one of those, and then two of those, and then three of those, and then one subsides, and then another. So it's like, what's this going on? And it's not easy to take, especially when it just doesn't go away. It just keeps relentlessly coming. It's kindness. It's not due to past vicious. The devotee can think due to my past vicious activities. But bhakti has eliminated that. It's another energy of Krishna, another direct act of Krishna acting in the life of the devotee. It's easy to say it. It's another thing to actually live one's life with that understanding, but that's the proper understanding. And at the same time feeling, so many bad activities I've done. Here I am, struggling with the consequences of my bad activities. Anything else?
I just have a comment and no questions there.
Let's just see.
just as you mentioned, I just want to appreciate what you were talking about. Srila Prabhupada was mentioning about the stress. Um, before I come to ISKCON, and then I compared myself after I came to ISKCON and getting the knowledge of what Prabhupada was mentioning and what by your instructions. It helped me a lot to get out of the material stress. I really felt the difference of it. Just gave me it even helped me in my health wise and my mind wise to get rid of a very deep stress that I was going through. I just came out of it so quickly, and I feel so now. No, there is no competition. There is no anxiety. All this I could able to come out of it so easily, Maharaj.
Congratulations.
I'm really grateful to Srila Prabhupada and to you and to this moment.
We should follow you because most of the rest of us don't like the stresses that we have to endure. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Something online? Online question. Excuse me.
Sorry. Keshava Madhava Prabhu is asking, does the effort we invest in chanting define to what degree we will remember Krishna throughout the day?
It has a major impact. It's not the only variable. Further purification can be another one of the variables, or feeling complacent and turning our attention elsewhere, taking shelter elsewhere, looking for happiness elsewhere. You know, it's major, but it's not the only factor. There's ongoing dynamics. Okay.
There's one more, Maharaj.
Okay.
Sorry. Ashish Dikshit Prabhu is asking how to move from interrupted striving.
How to do what?
How to move.
How to brew?
Move.
Move?
Yeah.
How to move?
From interrupted striving to continuous and sincere striving in the material energy. I easily float and accept sense gratification offers influenced by lower modes.
Well, you know, it's how to. You continue to strive. How to continue to strive? By continuing to strive with faith. Stay in good association, keep hearing, apply those things that you've understood, and you continue to strive. Lal Gopal has something in the back.
Dandavat Maharaj. Maharaj, you mentioned, this is just a clarity question. You mentioned that bhakti dissolves karma.
Yes.
Is it bhakti dissolves karma, or the Lord who's pleased by our bhakti dissolves the karma through bhakti?
Well, you can say it either way that you like.
Okay.
But bhakti has the power to dissolve karma.
Okay.
And where does the bhakti power, bhakti shakti come from? It comes from the Lord. So you can say it either way.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. And one question from yesterday's last night thing, we can take this offline too, if you need to look into the slides. It says that in Vishma Chakravarti Thakur, you mentioned while you're reading that commentary, Paramatma, I know the Paramatma in your mind. So that was little...
That was a surprise, but I included it because that's what he says.
Okay.
Now, Paramatma's in the heart. Now, one could say, well, does the jiva have a spiritual mind? Does the jiva have spiritual body, spiritual intelligence, spiritual mind? So, and what does it mean? So, there's that link that I sent you of bhakti is inherent in the jiva. One way is to think it in terms of Cartesian coordinates, that literally, physically or, geographically, bhakti is inherent in the jiva. And similarly, one could mistakenly think Paramatma is physically, geographically, Cartesian coordinates within the mind. But so the transcendental position is the mind that's absorbed in Paramatma, the Paramatma is absorbed in the mind. It's a transcendental vision. That's my understanding of what he wrote. It's not a how does it work? Well, it's a transcendental vision. That's how it works. Paramatma is within the mind in our constitutional position, but forgotten. And then in the purified state, Paramatma is in the mind. He appears in the mind. The Lord appears in the mind of his devotee. But is there, even if he doesn't appear in the mind of his devotee, because he's there. I mean, it's just an elaboration on this. But I remember pondering when Parikshit Maharaj was being attacked by the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. He appeared to stop the Brahmastra. And then when the Brahmastra was stopped, he disappeared. And then Parikshit, for the rest of his life, was searching for, where is that Lord? So where did he come from? And where did he go to? That was a question. And, he can come from anywhere and go to anywhere because he's everywhere. So if he's everywhere, then he's in the mind. So what does that mean? Is it a Cartesian coordinate geographic location? What does it mean? The Lord appeared in the mind of Vyas when he was meditating. What does that mean? Was he not there before? And then when he disappeared, where did he go to? Same question. So this is the question itself is pursuing how is transcendence situated even within the material creation, or specifically within the mind. How is transcendence situated? The transcendence is everywhere. Vishnu means all-pervasive. He's everywhere. So why not? Anywhere, everywhere. Where does he appear from? Where does he go to? He's everywhere. That's Prahlad. Was your Lord in this pillar? He's everywhere, Daddy, including the pillar. Now,
So we can connect this to 10th chapter where Krishna says, I am so and so, I am Aditya, I am Vishnu, I am...
those are different. Those are vibhutis. Specifically, in Canto 1, Chapter 3, it's in response to the question, please describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. And it starts with the Purusha avatars and then the Leela avatars, etc. And then it keeps going, and the vibhutis are listed. So the vibhutis are manifestations, but they're a particular category. They're not the same as angsas. They're vibhutis. They're not the same as Shakti-Avesh avatars. They're vibhutis. So the variety of the Lord's manifestations are without limit, but it's not the same as the Paramatma feature being manifest everywhere as compared to the vibhutis. It's a different category of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. Even within the material energy, he is present. But it's different than in his Vishnu Paramatma feature. It's a vibhuti of him. Just like a Shakti of the Lord is not the same as that, Prithu Maharaj is Vishnu. He's empowered incarnation.
Thank you,
Or the
Maharaj.
Guna avatars. It's another category. I'm sure you do. Okay.
Yes, Archana Vaidya Mataji says, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, how to attract someone to Krishna and explain how his material energy illusions. Sorry. How to attract someone to Krishna and explain how his as in Krishna's material energy illusions who is facing tribulations and not understanding the shelter of Krishna. Is it only possible by realizations through Krishna's mercy?
I think I understand the question. There's two parts to see how to help somebody, and then there's a question: is the method they can only understand by realization? Well, if that's the second part, if that's the only option, then good luck, because realization takes an elevated state of consciousness, and that's pretty rare. In many cases, people who are suffering, they're not ready for transcendence. In one sense, they're vulnerable because of some difficulty that they're going through. In many cases, it depends, but in many cases, let's just say a practical one is somebody has a family member that died. And that's a tribulation. Now, what do? One of the basic recommendations is you don't give them a Bhagavad Gita class. You comfort them, take care of the practicalities that they would otherwise be doing if they weren't undergoing that tribulation of a deceased family member. You help them with ABC. So the worldly things are looked after, and then they can grieve in a undistracted, feeling-supported manner. And then on the other side of that grieving period, their heart then becomes more open to those persons who comforted them and helped them and showed that kind of care. So how to help somebody, a lot depends upon the situation and the person. I mean, all these it depends. And if the relationship is such, and the timing is such, both, where there is an opportunity to speak something of a transcendental message, then you can go there. Until that signal is very clear, the relationship is such, and the openness is such, then don't try to go there. But build the trust in the relationship such that when the time is right, then you can begin speaking transcendence. Anyway, there's my mind is scanning that, so many situations that life presents, and it's so variable. What's the right thing to do? Yes, it does take back to the other part. It does take realization, but how to get to the place where there's some realization, and how to give associations so it enriches the likelihood of realization. Depends so much on the variables. Time, place, circumstance, person, relationship, everything. See yourself as Krishna's instrument and pray to Krishna for the wisdom and the grace of how to help a person that's passing through a tribulation feel their connection with Krishna again. An expert person, Narada Muni is a classic example. He knows exactly what to say in every situation, and it's never the same thing. By your Krishna consciousness, then you'll know. And be very flexible with the options that you might select from in each circumstance. And be in the consciousness of being Krishna's instrument. That's how. Okay, Prabhupada ki jai.